Well, hi, this is Michaela Evans. I'm a parent educator with Kentucky SPIN, and we're here today to talk about our Spotlight on Kentucky segment. And that's where we showcase our favorite agencies around the state and the services that they offer for individuals with disabilities. And today I have Whitney Hayes from Protection and Advocacy here. We're very excited to speak to her. Whitney, do you care to talk a little bit about Protection and Advocacy and just introduce yourself for us?
Sure. My name is Whitney Hayes. I'm from, like Michaela said, from Protection and Advocacy. I'm a staff attorney. Kentucky Protection and Advocacy is a federally funded agency that protects and promotes the rights of Kentuckians with disabilities through legally based individual and systemic advocacy services and education. We have both attorneys and non-attorney advocates who help individuals. And we also serve all people with disabilities from birth to death. Our agency completes these missions by having 3 primary teams. One, we have an information referral team that will answer any questions that come into our offices. We also have what's called the Children and Youth team that provides services from birth to 25, and then we also have what's our adult team that serves from 25 to death. We also help provide, we do several services in regards to going into different facilities and monitoring to ensure that the facilities are meeting individuals with disabilities needs. And we also just provide information and referral services to anybody who calls us with a question about where they can get assistance. And we can also provide technical assistance to parents or any callers. And we also provide direct representation in some cases. I serve on the Children and Youth team. I've been with Protection and Advocacy for 13 years. And so in my specific role, I can attend ARCs, help advise parents or any callers over the phone, provide technical assistance to parents or any callers, and also provide direct representation. Michaela, I can't hear you. The speakers. I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
Okay, what about now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. So you guys provide so many wonderful services to our families with individuals with disabilities. I know I myself have accessed services when I was first starting out trying to advocate for my son and just try to get a feel of where to go next. And Protection and Advocacy was responsible for helping me get my job at Kentucky SPIN. Just so many wonderful resources, and you guys always go above and beyond. So I think it's a great thing for families to know about. You want to share a little bit about your why and how you got in the field that you're in and what keeps you here?
Well, I got into the field. I always knew I wanted to work with people with disabilities because I have a disability, and I've grown up around people with disabilities and seen a wide array of problems and services and assistance that people with disabilities need. And this occurs around all ages. So I always knew that was what I wanted to do, was work. I just didn't know how to do it, and I wanted to become an attorney. So once I got into legal, once I got my law degree, I carved out a path specifically to work with people with disabilities for my personal need. That led, I've worked at with a nonprofit agency that helps assist individuals with disabilities get assistive technology, and I've also worked with the state to provide services for adults with disabilities. Now, this eventually led me to Protection and Advocacy. I've been with Protection and Advocacy for 13 years. So, like I said before, a long process, but a wonderful process at the same time.
Well, great, great. And we're so glad that you are there because you've been such a great help to me and so many other families as well. What are some programs and services that Protection and Advocacy offers? I know you talked a little bit about the different programs in the different sections, but can you dive a little bit more in depth on what kind of services you're able to offer through those programs?
Well, we can offer, we serve the entire state of Kentucky. So serving the entire state of Kentucky, we can provide 10 ARCs if the case rises to a certain level and we feel like representation is needed. If a person calls and says, I've got a concern, and I'm going to take the example of somebody having a school issue, since I started sharing your team, and they have a specific concern about the child not receiving services at the specific school. Sometimes we can solve the problem over the phone by telling the person or the parent what the law says and strategize with them about what the best way to get that service is and how to approach the school officials, because they may have already approached the school officials one way and it may not have worked, and it may be a rephrasing of terms or another approach that comes. We also can provide trainings to certain individuals on what their legal rights are in certain situations, and that those situations, you have to give us a call. But anybody across the state can call us with a question, and then if we can't answer the question, we can refer you to an agency that could answer the question.
Yes, and you guys have so many helpful resources as well. I know when my son was having some issues at school, I called Protection and Advocacy and was given a list of resources that I still use to this day, even working with other parents. So lots of great information to help parents know their rights, and just great resources and great people to help in general. I feel like even if you guys don't take on the case, you still really work one-on-one with families and help them to get where they need to be. So it's something that I really, really like about Protection and Advocacy.
We can always send publications out to individuals if they need help, and the publications provide the assistance sometimes to parents. And I'm going back to these school issues, because on our children youth team, that's a lot of times what we work with, and the steps that the parents can bring those publications with them, and they can steps them through what the process needs to occur or what they should do with suggestions in the NARC meeting. So we may not be there in person, but the publications in a way can assist us being there in spirit.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what are some typical questions that you get from parents or families?
A lot of questions we get are about the for the children youth team are concerned about the just about the IEP and ARC process, about how to address certain issues in the IEP process, just in general. One of the specific questions is how to work in with behaviors issues at school. If the school what to do when the school keeps calling an individual to pick a child up, and whether that's a suspension, what we need to do. And a lot of times my recommendation is always going back to documenting, getting clarification from school officials what they expect, and getting that in writing, so that if there's any confusion in the back and going backwards in the past, the parent can always go back to that documentation and read it and may answer the questions. Or if it doesn't answer the questions, they can go, okay, this is what a school official has said, but that really doesn't answer my question, so it narrows down the question that they can ask the school official. So hopefully it can better the communication between the school and the families.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've found as a parent, it's really hard to know what exactly to ask for, and sometimes the school just doesn't necessarily understand. And I know in my case, all we needed was a behavior intervention plan. And once I knew that's what I needed, I asked the school, they implemented it, and things got better. So sometimes it's really just that simple, and I love that you guys are there to kind of just help us know what to ask for, and then those resources, those publications that really give parents and families a lot of information that we didn't have access to before.
Yes, that's true. And a lot of times what I find out is I try to remember that the teachers in schools, they have been trained to provide services. So they use the appropriate terms that they're taught. But as parents or individual family members, they don't have that training. So it's just been that bridge saying, okay, what do I need to ask? Like you said, what do I need to ask for? This is what I'm trying to ask for. Do you know what I'm talking about at school?
Yes, yes. Us parents are certainly at a disadvantage when it comes to all of this. There's no handbook on how to raise a child with disabilities. So that's why we're so thankful for agencies like PNA to help us out. Do you feel like there's anything critical that families need to know right now, maybe during COVID or just this time of year?
Well, I think at this point, also, again, it goes back to documentation. I think it's very important for them to document, especially with COVID, what they're getting, what services they feel like that they're getting, and what services they feel like they're not getting. And if they've got any questions, I would go back to the schools. I would recommend and ask them, I don't think I'm getting these services, but how are you providing the services to my child? Because the school may be providing the services to your child in a way that a parent doesn't typically think of them providing the services. And it's so, and I also think if you document it too, going forward after the COVID situation, having that one-on-one ARC in person will help too, because I think everybody's stressed out right now. Just trying to make sure that the services, school officials and parents, both ways.
Yes, absolutely. It's frustrating for all sides, and I think educators are not excluded from that right now, certainly. And so that's great advice. What do you want families that view this video to take away from our interview today in terms of the message that Protection Advocacy wants to convey to families?
Well, I think it's important for families to know that if they've got any questions, feel free to give Protection Advocacy a call. If you feel like your child's rights or a person's family's friend's rights that they're have been violated, legal rights have been violated because of their disability, give us a call. I can never promise you that we can say yes, that's good, that's true, that's happened, but what I can tell you is that what we can give you an answer based on that information and saying no. And I think it's always nice to have a trusted person on the other end that you can call and say, is this true or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Whitney, as always, for working with us here at Kentucky Spin Today. We always love the chance to work with you, and we really appreciate you educating our families.
Thank you, and have a safe day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
Bye.